think lots of business owners and entrepreneurs, they start a business because they have this dream of, more money, more time, and it doesn't pan out like that. And just taking some time, I take, when I work with my clients, we take 5 full day sessions a year, 5 days out of a year to stop and plan and work on the business.
Hello, welcome back to What a Future. It's been an interesting run out the last few times. We had Natasha McIntyre Hall giving us a glimpse into the future, a smattering of other conversations, and who could forget Jeff Melander and a conversation about swine. Today we have Jason Green joining us, a certified EOS implementer, helping business owners and leadership teams get what they want from their business. Jason, it's such a pleasure to have you with us. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning, Fraser. Lovely to be with you.
My pleasure. Brilliant. Right. Well, first, quick off-piste. What on earth is EOS?
Yeah, so EOS is the Entrepreneurial Operating System. And EOS is a way of harmonizing and orchestrating all those wonderful moving parts in your business. And it's a framework to help you and your leadership teams get better at 3 things we call vision, traction, healthy. Vision, just getting you all on the same page with where you're going, how you plan to get there. Traction, instilling discipline and accountability throughout your organization. So no matter where you go, you see people executing on your vision. And healthy, making you a healthy, cohesive, fun-loving bunch of people that like spending time together. And that's, ultimately, when you implement EOS in your business, it's going to help you run a better business and, quite frankly, live a bit better life.
Fantastic. Gosh, it's utopia right there. George Orwell be damned.
Potentially utopia. Depends how well you execute on this stuff.
Brilliant. Look, let's just jump straight in then. We know the question. The question is, what's the biggest issue affecting the world of work right now?
Yeah, the biggest issue. It's a big question.
It's a big question.
There's probably more than one issue. But I think it's sort of 2 things. It's alignment. It's everybody understanding exactly what the company wants to achieve, but also, what do they need to do? What do the people in your business need to do? What are their priorities to achieve what you've all set out to achieve? So I think it's a little bit of alignment, and it's a bit about everybody understanding what they need to do.
Mm-hmm. So, I think that's. You was there a second one? Am I missing?
Well, it's the 2 together. So the first one is the alignment. Is everybody heading in the same direction, and does everybody know what their role is and what their priorities are to achieve that.
Sure.
So it's 2 parts. One is where we going. Does everybody understand that? And then does everybody understand what they need to do on a daily, quarterly, monthly basis to achieve what because it's great knowing where you want to do, but if you're working on the wrong stuff, you're never going to get there.
No, that's interesting, and I think it's very easy for companies on all levels, and arguably almost the larger the company, the more prevalent it is as you sort of go down the organisation, for companies to kind of enter a sort of drifting status where they sort of they drift along and they take on a bit of new business and they they service the clients they've got and everything kind of just ticks along, but there's no, as you say, it's kind of, if the boat was there, the boat is still being a boat, it's afloat, and all the crew are doing the thing that they need to do, but the boat's not going anywhere. And I think that can be a big issue, right?
Yeah, I think, it's all about managing the human energy. That's what a business is. A business has a bunch of human beings. Maybe a bit of AI now, doing some stuff. But a bunch of human beings that are trying to achieve something, and so if that boat is just floating around in the ocean, where are we going? where are we going is in the boat? And I think there's a great story. We talk about in EOS, we talk about managing your business on facts and figures
Mm-hmm.
rather than the egos and emotions that often drive decision making in entrepreneurial companies. And there's a great story. You're on a plane, but picture yourself on a plane. The captain comes out over the tannoy and he says, "I've got some good news and bad news for you."
Right.
And so he goes, "The bad news is we've lost all our instruments. We don't know what direction we're going in. We don't know how fast we're going. We don't know what altitude we're at. But you know what? The good news is we're making great time." So lots of businesses I feel are flying blind.
Yes.
Yeah. So you gotta manage that human energy, get everybody aligned, and get them, understanding what they need to do.
That's it. I mean, we had this interesting conversation a couple of episodes back about sort of strategy and that kind of vision, and often I think it's right, isn't it, that the vision almost needs to be bigger than the business. It needs to be bigger than the day to day. I think I've read a little bit of EOS. There's something about a really distant timeline, isn't there? 10-year goal, is that right?
Yeah, we set 10. I mean, we set 10-year targets. We call it a big hairy. Jim Collins. Yeah.
Yes.
Jim Collins, if you know Jim Collins,
calls it
a BHAG, big hairy audacious goal. So it's something that's out there, but it's that is, if you take the plane analogy, that's where you're flying to. That's the mountain you're climbing. Whatever it is, you don't know how you're going to get there, but we're just going to break it down into 90-day priorities. What are we going to do in the next 90 days to climb that mountain, get us all to the top of the mountain? But you've got to make sure you're climbing the same mountain. That
Yes.
I see so many organizations, I go in and I go, what's your long-term goal for the business? And literally, 7-8 people in the leadership team, they all have a different mountain they're climbing. And so, it's crazy, just one simple question, get everybody on the same page with where you're going long term.
Absolutely, and so there's some, we can kind of see, I'm sure, the kind of effect of what this would do to the business. But have you got a sort of good, story? What does a business look like that is lacking this alignment that we're talking about? What are the symptoms?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think when I start working with a company, they tend to have not done this stuff. A lot of companies are stuck in the day to day, just getting through the day, just being hit with so much stuff, and they tend to just push all their issues away. And the sort of the company is almost about to implode because there's so much stuff going on, and they're not getting above the business and looking down at it so they can see all the moving parts and really get a grip on where they're going. So the symptoms are, I would say, chaos. Chaos is this, everybody's got great intentions.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's working hard, but they're not working hard. They're not working smart. They're not working on the right things because they don't know where they're going. I think there's a great scene in Alice in Wonderland. I don't know if you know the scene. Alice comes up to the Cheshire cat, and the cat, Alice says to the cat, which road should I take? And the cat says, well, where are you going? And Alice says, I don't know. And so the cat says, well, either road will do. And I think that's what you see in a business that hasn't spent time to articulate the vision, where they're going, how they plan to get there. There's when you have a decision to be made, how do you know which path to take? It's
sure.
It leads to indecision. That's what it does. It leads to indecision, big time.
And the indecision is the chaos, sort of chaos in well, no, it's the cause of the chaos, right? Like everyone's paralyzed by this indecision because they don't know which road to take. They don't. Yes, maybe they don't want to. There's not
Exactly,
enough psychological
exactly.
safety for them to kind of go out and stick themselves out into no man's land. And so,
Yeah,
the result is chaos that ultimately leads to sort of stagnation and then playing catch up, like running around and constantly trying to
yeah,
catch up with the
and
world as it
yeah,
goes
and
on.
you never quite achieve. I mean, look, some companies do, maybe better luck or whatever, but most companies, 90% of companies, never quite achieve what they set out to achieve. And I think lots of business owners and entrepreneurs, they start a business because they have this dream of more money, more time, and it doesn't pan out like that. And just taking some time, I mean, I take, when I work with my clients, we take 5 full-day sessions a year, 5 days out of a year to stop and plan and work on the business. And just doing that will have a huge effect, huge positive effect on the business, but also everybody's working in the business. Because once you know as a leadership team where you're going, you can bring everyone along with you and get them to share in your vision and your plan.
Sure, I think there's some great metaphors here that we're sort of look at the boat with no direction, the plane that's flying but doesn't know where to. Like it seems quite logical, really, that to me that when your leadership team, as you say, is kind of rowing in that direction, they all want to achieve the same thing. They're all clear as to what that is, and I suppose to some degree that's a little bit more than kind of sticking words on the wall, which seems to be a sort of sticky plaster for companies that need to get something out quick but haven't really thought about it.
Yeah,
That's not to say there's a problem with sticking words on the wall. It's the lack of thought that goes into it that would be the bigger problem. But if
yeah,
you do define that, the BHAG, if you do define the 3 year kind of horizon that may be a little bit more visible, and
yeah,
you
tangible.
yeah, and then you make sure, as you say, like I think that's the power. It's sticking with me, that sort of idea that you go into a leadership team, you ask 8 different people on the leadership team, what's this company doing, where's it going, and they all give you a totally different
Yeah,
answer. I
yeah.
mean,
Well, no,
that
I wouldn't say
clearly
totally.
that's not right.
Yeah, I wouldn't say totally. I mean, every business has a vision. It's just that literally like you said, every person on the leadership team has a slightly different version of that vision.
Sure.
And that leads to chaos because unless you're I mean, we keep going back to the same thing. Unless you're working on the same thing, going in the same direction, rowing in the same direction. That imagine a rowing team all try each person. There's so many metaphors, aren't there? I mean,
Yeah.
I feel like I'm becoming Mr. Cliche man. But yeah, I mean, imagine you've got a rowing team and everyone's rowing out of sync with each other. You're not going to go anywhere.
Absolutely, and so let's rather than finding more metaphors, because I think
Yeah.
we're getting very very good at it. But
Yes.
I think what
Let's see me. That's 3. See how many more we can get.
sounds good. Sounds good. So what I'm wondering then is, can you think like are there what's the effect sort of on the world of stagnating companies, I suppose, on creative? If we go, so we've talked kind of inside the company what that looks like, but
Yeah.
I suppose what's the effect on the outside world, on the sort of consumers, on clients or customers, etc. What's the experience in that side of things?
Well, I would guess. I mean, I'm not really an expert on that part, but I would guess if you're not running. I mean, I think let's look at it the other way round. I mean, I think you can look at some companies that are really well run. They have a vision. They have Simon Sinek. They have a why. So they have some values. They have a set of values. They know why they're doing what they do. What they love and what they're great at. They have a BHAG. Jim Collins calls this sort of hedgehog concept. And I think you've only got to look at those companies that are doing great. I mean, Apple is a great example of that. I mean, maybe their time might be coming down a little bit now, but they've always had a purpose. About building a great brand and creating a community. You look at what Tesla has done. It's quite amazing, and you could name a number of companies like that. I mean, they're much bigger and global. But imagine if you could take a company with 100 people and have that same sort of vision. um I think you'd end up attracting customers that that you love working with. So I think not only will your customers be happier because they're dealing with a well-run business that knows where they're going. Not only with your customer, but I think the whole ecosystem of the client supplier relationship becomes so much better, because you're working with companies that value what you do and are fun to work with. So I think it gets you out of that commoditized space where it's a sort of dive to the bottom, and if you run your business really well, attract the right customers, you're basically elevating yourself above that. So you're operating in a value space where the companies that you work with value what you do, will pay the right amount, and you'll deliver a better service as well, because you've got all the systems and you're managing the human energy behind it to deliver whatever you want to deliver. So that was quite a convoluted answer to your question, but I hope it made sense.
Yeah, I think that gives a good good idea, and I agree with you entirely that there are two ways that you can sort of be within a business. Not necessarily to say that switching from one to the other is easy, but as you mentioned, that sort of commoditized space, and I am roughly similar to other competitors that offer a similar thing, and I'm competing on those sorts of levels. Some industries operate in that way out of necessity. I mean, we call them literally commoditized markets.
Yeah.
But other industries, particularly innovative industries, or sort of the more modern industries, things like tech, motor cars are both modern and old, which depending on your perspective, but those sorts of areas, they can have this sort of really loyal brand following, which can be, trumps almost everything else. And that's a really powerful thing. And I hope that it's clear, to listeners that if you have the direction, you have that clarity in sort of where you're going, then everything else kind of just starts to follow to some degree. There's more to do. It's not just as simple as go and spend a day thinking about something and all your problems are solved. But that really has to be the first step. In that, we kind of moved into the second question to some degree, and I think maybe we should just embrace that. Second question being, if we could fix this lack of alignment that you mentioned, what sort of world should we look forward to? And I suppose again, this is a question both in terms of businesses. I suppose there's three things to look at, okay, that I'm interested in. One is, what's the effect on those business owners that we've kind of mentioned, or the business leaders? What's the effect on the people within the business? And finally, what's the effect on the sort of world, beyond the business?
I missed the second. I missed the second. So you had what is the effect on the business owner? The second one was
the people in the company.
People in the company, and third, the greater.
Sure.
Let me just go back quickly. I think there's three great questions that we get our teams to answer. The first one is what are your core values? The second one is what is your core focus? And the third one is what is your 10-year target, your BHAG? When you have those three answers, those become a great filtering mechanism for the organization to make decisions. So you can ask your question, does this fit, any decision, does this fit with who we are? Does this fit with our core focus, what we love and we're great at, why we're doing what we do and what we do? And is it going to help us get to the top of that mountain that we're all trying to get to? If it does, maybe we should do it. And so when you have those three things and the rest of the vision, what does it do to the business owner? So I think one helps them make better decisions, because and everybody else in their business. And I think that's where it really helps. It gives your leadership team autonomy to make decisions, almost a get out of jail free card. Okay, so any decision they make, as long as they made it with your core values in mind, your core focus in mind, and the 10-year target, they probably made the right call. Not always, but so it gives your team autonomy. So as a leader, you can get out of the weeds, get out of that tall grass, and work on the business instead of in it, and build a team that is going to execute on what you want to execute on. So ultimately, done right, you should end up with more time and more money. Ultimately, that's what should happen. For the team, I mean, it frees them. It frees everybody in the business to do what they love and they're great at. It gives them the freedom to excel at whatever it is they're great at. It gives them clear direction. What do I need to do to win the week this week? What do I need to do over the next 90 days that is going to help us achieve our vision? What's my role in achieving what we set out to do? And how do my daily how does my daily tasks and what I do every day, how does it impact where we're going? Because every single person in a business impacts where the business is going. So I think it gives your people, I think it's is it Thomas Pink? He said people need autonomy, mastery, and I'm going to forget the last one. Autonomy, mastery, and something else. And so, but that's what people need to be able to succeed and fail by themselves. And then the greater world. I mean, it depends what your business is doing. It depends on the purpose and how much. But I think it's the ripple. It's the ripple effect. When you're running a great business and everybody is doing what they love and they're great at, you're heading in the same direction. You're making your little difference in the world, and if you've got multiple companies making a little difference, they all make a big difference. The 1%, the 1% rule. But not only are not only your customers getting a better service and making people happy there, but your staff are happier. Their families are happier. So running a great business is not just about making profit. It's not just about making money. It's making your small difference in the world, but it's making a difference to all your employees, and making a difference to them makes a difference to their families. And so you have I'm working with 18 companies at the moment, which means, just say on average, they've got 50 staff each. That's 900, people that, I'm having an impact on, but it's their 900 people, but they've all got families. So, in my little way, I'm making, some difference in the world.
Absolutely, and we can talk, and this is a matter of perspective to some degree, of course. But we can talk about the effect on companies and how they sort of operate better. But I always do feel that there is some element that these things that we talk about are somehow bigger, because for better or worse, our system relies on business, doing things that businesses do, and if we can make sure those businesses can ultimately get out of their own way, I think, and really go and achieve the things that they need to achieve or want to achieve, then that's the that has an amazing effect on vastly more than just business owner or leadership team, right? As you mentioned, those
Yep.
900 people, they each have families. Let's say they each have 2 family members on average. You're now looking at 2,700 people, and it just sort of grows out from there, because then there's
Exactly.
friends, and
Yep. Yep.
and then there's all the customers that got helped by things, and so, as you mentioned, even if it is just a very, very small incremental change, that ripples out into being a much, much greater change. And I think that's an important thing to keep in mind with this sort of discussion.
Yeah. I mean, it's just bigger. It's bigger than every action is bigger than you think. You really think it, if you really think it through, our actions have a ripple effect through the universe. Maybe that's a bit too big.
Well, who knows? Who
Who
knows?
knows?
Look, it's been a real pleasure to have you with us today, Jason. I'm so grateful for your time, and it's great to get some, sort of clarity, I suppose, around. I think it's easy to talk about, oh well, if we had a vision, then we'd go off in this direction. But people struggle to find that vision in the first place. That's fine. It's not easy. But then there's the question: okay, now what? And I think having a bit of clarity over what that means, where that takes us, that's been really, really sort of insightful and powerful. I really thank you for your time and input there.
You're welcome. I really enjoyed spending some time with you today, Fraser.